Y como todas las semanas en Cinema Plot nos acompañan nuestros amigos de PHARM-AID. ¿Tienes un récipe venezolano y necesitas comprar medicinas acá en Miami? No te preocupes, en PHARM-AID te pueden despachar cualquier medicamento y si lo necesitas, hasta pueden enviarlo a Venezuela. ¿Quieres contactarlos? En la descripción del video te dejamos todos sus datos. Hola, ¿qué tal amigos de Cinema Plot? Estamos aquí con Leigh Whannell, director y guionista de Upgrade, película que se está estrenando en junio en All America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yes.
opening All America.
June 1st, yep. Across the nation. It's a wide release, so hopefully it'll be showing in a theater near you.
Okay, so Upgrade is like a mix. We have this sci-fi context, we have action, we have suspense, a little of gore, dark humor. Mm-hmm. How hard was for you to pitch this idea to Blumhouse?
It was something that they weren't used to. It's not the type of genre they usually do. You know, they usually do horror movies, so it was a little outside the box for them. And also, on top of that, it was a little more expensive than they usually do. You know, they always... So it was kind of hard for them to wrap their heads around it, but luckily I'd been doing the Insidious movies with them, so we had a good relationship, and also I could use the next Insidious movie as blackmail and say, well, I'll only write the next one if you let me make this movie. You know, it was a good bargaining chip.
Okay, how long takes all the shooting of the movie?
The shoot was actually not too long. It was about a 32-day shoot. But we were in Australia, so we had a pretty long pre-production, you know, a few months to work everything out. And it was definitely hectic. Like, every day was felt like a mouse on a wheel. You know, just very hectic.
This is your second movie. The first one was Insidious Chapter 3.
Yep.
How hard was for you to switch between suspense, horror, and do action? Because are two different genres.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the good thing was I knew the script so well, because I had written the script. So I felt like all the time I was writing the script, I was thinking about how to shoot the movie. So it was almost like I did a lot of mental preparation to make the film. So by the time I got to shoot it, I wasn't nervous about the story anymore or the action elements. I was just like, look, as long as I rely on the stunt team to do the best stuff and try to come up with creative ideas on how to shoot it, I'll be fine. But one thing the film has proven to me is that when you take a chance, you try something a little bit different, it always, you know, you can't go wrong if you're trying something different, you know?
What was the most difficult task as director in the set of Upgrade?
I think the most difficult thing was trying to get the film done with that level of ambition in the time we had. Because usually a big budget movie, a blockbuster film, they have so much time. Yeah. You know, they take months and months to shoot the movie. Well, we didn't have that. So that, definitely the clock becomes your worst enemy. Like, you're just looking at the time going, you know, it's tough. There were a couple of days where it was tense because the day was over and I didn't feel that we had the shot we needed, you know?
Which role do you enjoy more, director or a screenwriter? In the case of Upgrade and your future work?
It's a good question. There's a pros and cons column for both. Okay, the good thing about writing is that no one's looking over your shoulder. It's just you in a room and you can do anything. You're literally creating a world from nothing. The bad thing about writing is that you're creating a world from nothing. Like, it's really hard to write, to get these scenes down. It's just a very tough thing to do, and it'd be kind of lonely. The great thing about directing is that there's all this adrenaline. There's none of the procrastinating of writing, because you don't have time to procrastinate. Somebody's always saying, let's go, go, go. The bad thing about directing is that unlike writing, you feel like you never have the time. With writing, I feel like I have all the time in the world. With directing, it's like, oh man, it's 5 o'clock and we have to be done by 6. I have an hour to shoot this scene, and that can be very frustrating. So if I had to choose, I choose directing, because the hardest part of filmmaking to me is writing, and when you're directing, that part's been mostly taken care of, you know?
Okay. You have a lot of movies in suspense and horror genre. Now you have an action movie. The next will be a romantic comedy or something like that?
I would love to do a romantic comedy or something. You know, I wrote a kids' film many years ago that I haven't gotten made. For me, it's really about the story. Like, if I had an idea for a romantic comedy that I loved, I would pursue that. You know, it doesn't have to be in this one genre. It's really about what is the best story idea, you know?
Okay. 2 quick questions. One advice for a young film screenwriter and a young director. This is his first movie.
Right.
What advice you would like to?
Well, you know, I should preface this by saying that I don't consider myself someone who should be listened to. I'm the type of person who should be getting advice from other people. But if a first-time filmmaker asked me for advice, I'd say with the writing, take as long as you need. Like, no one remembers how long it took to write the film.
How long takes to write Upgrade?
Upgrade? Well, the first draft I wrote in about 4 or 5 months, but the actual, each draft, that whole process was years, like 4 years of writing, and because I would do other things, I would come back to it, so it's a long time. And so my advice to writers would be take the time to get the script absolutely solid, because you don't want to be working things out or fixing script problems on the set, because that's no place to... there's plenty of other problems to solve on a set. You don't want to be fixing the script. Like, oh, this ending's terrible. So that'd be... On the directing front, my advice would be to be over-prepared. Just, if it's your first time, just be so planned out and so prepared that when things go wrong... Notice I didn't say if things go wrong. Okay. When things go wrong, the more prepared you are, the more you'll be able to say... You know, you come to me, you're the producer, right? You say to me, hey, Leigh, this scene in the Cuban restaurant, we can't have the actors eating anymore. We've got to get rid of the food. If I'm really prepared, I can be like, okay, let's have them... Let's just lose the food but keep the coffee. You know, I can roll with the changes, but it's I think when you're not prepared, it can make you panic.
Okay. 3 movies and 3 filmmakers that are like the Holy Trinity for you.
Oh, okay. This is good. Right, for me, look, in no particular order, filmmakers, I'm going to start with an obvious one. I'm going to start with Steven Spielberg, because he is the director who got me into movies when I was a kid. Before I even knew that directing was a job, I didn't know anything about filmmaking, but I just loved his movies. I loved Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., and I still love them to this day. Like, there are not many things that I loved when I was a kid that I still love. You know, I don't, like, collect He-Man figures anymore. But I think Spielberg films are so great. I also I love David Fincher. I love what a controlled filmmaker he is, and the stuff. Just he has his own language, and that's a really hard thing to do in films. Is not only finish the film, but make the film in your language. And then thirdly, I'm going to go with John Carpenter, because the horror side of me really looks to John Carpenter. I still think The Thing will always be in my top 5 favorite movies ever. And I think John Carpenter, he so many horror filmmakers look to him because he broke ground. He was doing something different. For his time, you know, Halloween was groundbreaking, The Thing was groundbreaking, Big Trouble in Little China. Nobody was making movies like Big Trouble in Little China in the mid-'80s. Now, everybody's on board with it. So, those are my three favorites. And then you said movies. Movies, I'm going to go with Jaws. Jaws is a huge one. I really love the film Memento. That was a huge influence. And then I'm going to go with The Thing. Yeah. Hey there, Cinema Plot viewers. I'm Leigh Whannell, the writer and director of the film Upgrade. I was also the writer of Saw and Insidious. Apologies if you didn't like those movies. But if you did, you're going to be excited, because Upgrade, my latest film, comes out June the 1st, and I implore you to see it. In fact, I'm going to call you and find out if you saw it. And if you didn't, you're going to be disappointed. I might even call your mother.